set to sofa is where it's at. And Lulu, darling, just loves the chat. She talks to stars with grace and style. Lulu sure will make you smile.
Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to From Set to Sofa with Lulu. And I'm Lulu. Our guest today is celebrating 50 years in showbiz this year. Now, that's an amazing feat. As we know, longevity in showbiz is almost unheard of in Australia. You might know him as the hero who plummeted down a mountain on horseback in one of Australia's most iconic films. And yes, he'll be talking about that. He then took a calculated gamble when he auditioned for Tina Sinatra's miniseries about her father and opened up a new career that has spanned over 25 years of big band concerts. He was taken aback by the reaction of Mel Brooks for his performance in The Producers. His diversity knows no bounds, as you will hear in the next hour or so. And if you enjoy listening to this chinwag, I would love you to spread the word to your friends. It all helps. Now, 50 years ago, on a show called Kirby's Company, we would hang out together with fellow actors Vince Martin and Willie Fennell. And of course, I've seen him in his shows from time to time. But it's so good to catch up with him now. Let's get Tom Burlinson on the line. Hi, Tom, and welcome to From Set to Sofa.
Hello, Lou. Thank you very much.
Firstly, how does it feel to be celebrating 50 years in showbiz? Are you proud, shocked, or what?
Well, I am proud in being able to, have the opportunity to work in show business in Australia and internationally for such a long time, having chosen to pursue that as a career. Yes, it's been a varied career. I've had to diversify in order to keep working, that's for sure. But yeah, look, I have to say I feel very fortunate to be able to still be working in show business after all this time.
Oh, and I saw you recently in Now We're Swinging, and you were sensational, as always.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
After all these years, do you still get that little flutter before walking on stage?
Oh, always, less so. I mean, early on, nerves would get to me and affect me. But I find that with doing it over the years, the nerves affect me less, but they're still there.
Yeah.
And it's really about wanting to do your best and hoping that you can do your best. And because when you're performing live, you never know what's going to happen.
No.
So there's always a level of anticipation, a little bit of tension perhaps. I always say to myself, Lou, I say, trust in what it was all about from the beginning, why you're doing it. Trust in your love for the music and the songs that you're singing and performing. Trust in that and just share that love with the audience. That's the thing that I sort of tell myself before I go on.
Good idea to do that. And also, a little bit of adrenaline, that little pump helps you to energise the performance anyway.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It has to be, you have to have that sort of performance energy. That's, that is required, certainly.
I remember doing stage shows and getting the nerves. And now we first met on Kirby's Company back in 1977. You played Peter Kirby so convincingly that I kept on calling you Peter. Do you remember that?
No, I didn't remember that, actually. Thank you for the compliment.
Oh.
It was my first job in television because I graduated from NIDA just the year before and I'd worked on stage up in Queensland, and then came this series on the ABC. And so for me, it was a great opportunity. And, and I loved working with Willie Fennell, who, played my grandfather in particular. But the whole thing was a great experience. And also because it was on the ABC and we were only shooting, I think, an hour a week or whatever it was slower. It let me sort of prepare and take my time to come up with a performance, if you know what I mean. Because later when I went to commercial television, it was much, much faster and you had to work at speed,
Yeah. Look, I remember having lunch with you, Vince Martin, and dear, dear darling Willie Fennell.
Mm-hmm.
And you were singing along to Joe Cocker with, pretend microphone. Did you always have that inner singer waiting to burst out?
Well, I guess so. In my late teens, I've always loved the music of Frank Sinatra, right? Since I was a little kid. My mother tells me that when I was a toddler, I would point to an album cover that she had of an album called A Swingin' Affair.
Wow.
And I would point to the cover and say, The Man in the Hat. Now, this is when I was a toddler in the late 1950s, Lou, okay?
Yeah.
But then I rediscovered that album when I was in my late teens. And I really sort of fell in love with all the romanticism of it and with the musical style and with Sinatra's interpretations of those great songs. And so, like millions of others, I would sing along with Frank. And I found that there was a similar sort of tone and similar range in terms of pitch, a similar range in our voices. So I found that, that I could sort of sing along with him and keep up. And I made a bit of a study out of it, Lou, in that, where that particular Sinatra phrasing, where he breathes, how long he holds notes, that sort of thing. And so it was a bit of a study, but really just for my own enjoyment.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
I wanted to pursue my own path as an actor. So the singing was there, but it was really just for me and occasionally for friends until much later on in the career when, things developed.
Yeah, they sure did. Tom, let's go back to the beginning. Now, you were born in Toronto, you moved to New Jersey at 2, then England at 6, and finally Australia at 9. Were you in a child witness program or something, or just following your dad's career?
That's exactly what I was doing. Dad worked for an international company, and as his career progressed and developed, we as a family followed him around the Western world. My older sister and I were born in Toronto, as you said. Then he was transferred to the New York office, and we lived in New Jersey, where my younger sister, Kath, was born. Then he was promoted, and because my parents were both English and they'd moved to Canada soon after the Second World War. So then a position came up back in England, and Dad, being what the Americans called a limey, was chosen to go back. It was a promotion, and even though Dad didn't really want to go back to live in England, he couldn't say no to that. So we all moved back to England, and then my youngest sister was born there. And then after a few years in England, I went from being all-American little boy, it was really Leave It to Beaver with the turned-up jeans and the striped T-shirts and all of that, okay? And then became quite Anglified because I was from the age of 6 till 10, their formative years, right?
Yes.
Anyway, then Dad was made managing director of the Australian branch of the company. So we all came to Australia on the P&O liner, the Himalaya, through the Suez Canal in those days. It was quite an adventure. It took about a month to travel to Australia and then set up life here in Sydney. So, as I say, as my dad's career developed, we followed him around the world. I've lived in Australia ever since, apart from on and off times in America trying to get a break in Los Angeles. But Australia's been my home since then.
Yeah. Now, your parents divorced just 6 months after arriving in Australia, I believe.
Yes, they did.
And your mum took your sisters back to England whilst you stayed here with your dad.
Correct.
Did that broken family upheaval make you more resilient as a performer?
I don't know about that. It was certainly traumatic, Lou. There's no doubt about it. It was traumatic for everyone.
Yes.
I mean, going back to the other side of the world was kind of like going to the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays we can see each other in real time on a video screen, right? But in those days, communication was via, really expensive 3-minute phone calls that were very sort of scratchy or writing air letters. That was kind of it.
Yeah.
And so there was this great division in our family, and it was difficult for everyone. I don't know whether any of that had really an effect on me in terms of wanting to perform, but I guess that dealing with those emotional issues at such a young age and with the loss of, relationship with my mother, the loss of relationship with my sisters as they grew up, I guess it put me sort of in touch, I suppose, with emotions that other kids who had let's call it a normal life may not have experienced. I suppose that's the best way I can express it.
I think that's a very good analogy. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. It must have been really traumatic.
Look, It was very difficult for a number of years. I didn't see my mother from the age of 13 until I was 26.
Wow.
I didn't see her at all. Yeah, so there was, as I say, a great separation. But eventually, we all reestablished contact. And I think, really, Lou, that because of that separation and because it had been so difficult with everyone, when we reestablished contact, our bonds, became really strong again, and perhaps it's stronger than people who've always been together because we valued it so much, So I reestablished a relationship with my mother and with my sisters. And, that continued for many years thereafter. So while my teenage years and early 20s, there was this, big emotional separation, it all came back together later.
Wonderful. Had a happy ending. Now, your first ever public appearance was as Colonel Pickering in Mossman Primary's My Fair Lady.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? Did you know then that you wanted to perform, or did acting sneak up on you?
My dad was a big fan of George Bernard Shaw. Okay, loved the writings of George Bernard Shaw. And then, of course, George Bernard Shaw's play, Pygmalion, was made into the musical My Fair Lady. So we had the album of George Bernard Shaw manipulating the puppets of Julie Andrews and Rex Harrison, on the album cover. And Dad just loved all of that. I'm an ordinary man, even-tempered and good-natured, whom you'd never hear complain, right? He used to do it. Dad used to do it along with the record. So I was very familiar with that piece. Yeah. Then it came that we were going to do, I was only in 5th class, okay, so I was only 11. Yeah. And we were going to do scenes for My Fair Lady. So I was cast, not as Henry Higgins, but as Colonel Pickering. So I had the song, "Tonight, old man, you did it, you did it, you did it," right? And so that was, as you say, my first public performance. And because I knew the record, I was very familiar with the music. And so there we were, yes, at Mossman Town Hall, and doing scenes from My Fair Lady. And yes, my first public performance. And, Dad was very proud, of course, and used to put me up on the chair and say, "Okay, come on, sing, you did it." So, but
how gorgeous.
Look, I don't think that started my wanting to pursue it. I think that came a little bit later, towards the end of high school, is when I really started to contemplate perhaps the pursuit of a career in show business.
Well, it's been said that you auditioned for NIDA because a friend of yours got in, and you graduated from NIDA, as you said, in 1976.
Yeah.
Now, tell us the truth. Was the classmate most likely to succeed? And was it awkward when it turned out to be you?
I don't know whether I was the most likely to succeed, but look, one of my co-students in NIDA was Colin Friels, who's gone on to have a fantastic career on stage, and he was wonderful then, and he's wonderful now. So he's gone on. But, Lou, every year there are a number of acting students who graduate from not only NIDA, but other institutes all around the country now. And, the industry doesn't and can't really support all of those people. So there are always going to be some who get lucky, and I certainly got lucky. Yeah. Because I don't say, I was the best,
You also have worked very, very hard. Oh, it was wonderful. Wonderful to watch you on Kirby's Company.
Oh, thank you.
No, truly. Yeah.
Well, look, NIDA was a great education for me. I went there very green. Yeah. I was only not even 18 years old when I was accepted. Yeah. I didn't know anything. So I was really like a big sponge, and it was my tertiary education, and I was able to take what NIDA had to offer and really assimilate it into my work method. And yes, part of that was respect for the industry and respect for the work, and to apply yourself accordingly. Yeah.
Now, in 1977, you worked with the Queensland Theatre Company and 12th Night Theatre in Brisbane.
Yep.
Was that a good baptism of fire for a young actor?
Oh, very much so. I had a fantastic part.
Yeah.
I wasn't even 21 when I was cast. I turned 21 during the actual show. But I was cast as a 15-year-old schoolboy from the East London who comes downstairs, says that he's murdered his father. Okay, that's just like his opening line.
Yeah, that's Reginald in Widow's Weeds.
That's correct. So, I was playing with a dialect. I had to, definitely playing a character. So it enabled me to use a lot of the skills that I had learnt at NIDA. And also there's an element of comedy in it. So playing live in the SGIO Theatre in Brisbane, It was great. My first job, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And then I went on to a bit more work in 12th Night. The J.B. Priestley played Dangerous Corner, and then a small part in The Merchant of Venice, so a bit of Shakespeare as well. So it was a great start, really, before I met you, and Kirby's Company came up in the second half of that year.
And the legendary Willie Fennell played your grandfather. I remember him as being such a beautiful, generous performer. He did take you under his wing, didn't he?
He did. We became great friends. I really, great friends off set and off screen, as well as on. He really was a great mentor for me. I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy a video cassette player, because they were very popular at that time, but they were expensive.
Yeah.
Right? So I had to take a loan in order to buy this thing. Well, I can't remember which company it was, but they would not lend me the money to buy this because I was an actor, and therefore not reliable. So Willie actually went guarantor for me to buy that over $1,000 it was, which at the time was a lot of money.
It was a lot.
He went guarantor for me so I could buy my first VCR player. So, yes, we had a really great relationship.
Not only a generous performer, but a generous friend.
Absolutely.
Oh, he was gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Beautiful, beautiful man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so gorgeous. And when the show didn't go into a second series, was that disappointing for you at the time?
The boss of the ABC apparently was not a fan of Kirby's Company and wanted it gone. But look, I learnt a lot. I enjoyed working with everybody on that series, and there's nothing you can do. You just have to move on.
Exactly. And we all did it. We all just moved on. But then you moved into Mickey Pratt on The Restless Years. Did playing a 17-year-old street kid for 56 episodes feel like a proper apprenticeship in the soapy grind?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But look, my time on Kirby's Company had really prepared me to, working in front of cameras, that sort of thing. And as I said earlier, at a slower pace. So now when you're on a soap like this, because we're making more than 2 hours of product a week, and when you get on set, there's no mucking around. You have to come up with a performance and do it.
Yep.
And if you're playing a character, you have to maintain consistency, which I did because I was cast as a kind of a street kid, semi-literate street kid, Mickey, with a strong Australian accent. So again, I really established good working relationships with dear John Hamblin, who also became a friend of mine, as well as my probation officer as Mickey, right? I was Jordan, the character he played was my probation officer, and June Salter and some of the others, some of the other actors on that series, there's some of the other younger actors on that series. So again, I did look at it as an apprenticeship in commercial television, and hey, it was popular at the time as a nighttime soap, and I found in my normal life, I was just kind of walking around and I was being recognized by people, which was very new to me and something that I had to get used to and that eventually became a continuing part of my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that part was an apprenticeship as well, because it's not easy being recognised sometimes, is it?
Well, and then people would sort of hear my own speaking voice, which was different to Mickey, and they'd think, is it him? Is that, that sort of thing. So the distinction between the person and the projected image was something that, I had to deal with quite young.
But then you went back to stage, including the One Day of the Year. Was it satisfying to tread the boards again?
Oh, yeah, that's a great Australian play, the One Day of the Year, Alan Seymour's play. Again, confrontational with a young Huey confronting his father about his beliefs about Anzac Day in particular and the whole Anzac legend. And, one of the great Australian plays, I think. So again, I found over the years, Lou, that I had to be prepared to leave home and travel in order to work. And so, the time in Adelaide was good. It was all new. You had to find accommodation and all that stuff and settle in. And then it was a tour. We toured all around regional areas of South Australia and also Tasmania. And so the whole thing, again, was a very educational experience.
And new experience too. Basically. I mean, the touring, one night stands, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And in 1982, that changed everything with The Man from Snowy River, playing the lead Jim Craig.
Yes.
You said it was life-changing and challenging. How did it change your life?
Well, we didn't know it at the time, Lou, but okay, so here was I, city boy, born and bred, cast as one of the great heroes of Australian literature and folklore, I suppose, right? So it was very, very challenging. I had to learn how to ride a horse.
Yes.
I had to learn how to crack a stock whip and all of the other values of the mountain bushman that the character was. And so it was very challenging. Gosh, I was also working with a bona fide Hollywood movie star,
Right.
Kirk Douglas, playing two roles. And of course, established a lovely working relationship with Sigrid Thornton and Jack Thompson and George Miller, the director, who really helped me a lot. But when we were making the movie, we had no idea how successful it was going to become. And that's why I say, it was life-changing in that when the movie was released and promoted unlike any Australian film up until that time, and then went to number one box office. That is the most successful film ever released in the country, and which for an Australian film, that was unheard of at the time. I mean, all of a sudden I was kind of skyrocketed to fame. Being recognised for the rest of his years was one thing, but now the Man from the Snowy River was entirely another, right? So everywhere I went, people were recognising me, and it also led to lots of other work because, of course, my work was seen not only much more widely in Australia, but internationally as well.
Which was wonderful and truly deserved.
Well, the whole thing was extraordinary because the Snowy River not only was hugely successful in America, but also in certain areas in America, in the Midwest and in the country areas. I mean, it is still regarded as a classic of its kind and still very, very popular with people after all these years. So, being taken to America, and we did this kind of press junkets in Los Angeles and Chicago and New York promoting the movie. And, the whole experience of sitting in a chair in a hotel room and then one after another, all the journalists come in with their videotapes and they put them into the machine and then they ask you the same questions and you answer those questions over and over and over and over again all day long, right?
Yeah.
And that's the job. I mean, all of that was like completely new to me. But again, you learn that's part of the business. That's and you're lucky to be there.
Yeah.
And also, as a American, being treated like a prince.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of enjoyable.
And everything's paid for?
Yes, exactly.
We actors love that.
I mean, I'll tell you a quick story, though. When we first arrived in Los Angeles, okay, so you get picked up and my luggage didn't arrive. And I was kind of freaking because I'm thinking, oh, God, I've got all these press interviews to do and I haven't got any clothes. And this guy from 20th Century Fox said, Tan, don't worry about it. We'll buy you a whole new wardrobe.
And you went, yes.
Yeah, but then the next day my bag showed up and I didn't get a whole new wardrobe.
Oh,
nevertheless,
no.
You get the idea, yeah?
Yeah, I got it. I got it. But listen, 6 weeks of training, even if you have a natural seat, in those riding scenes, you and Denny the horse apparently rode as one. Now, let's settle the debate. You've confirmed that you did that incredible descent down the mountain yourself for the profile shots. Now, what was going through your head when you looked down that cliff for the first time?
Well, look, I was so into it by that stage. And this wasn't after just 6 weeks. 6 weeks before the filming started, but then during the filming, I was on horseback all the time. And then there was a sort of a pause in the filming because of weather. So I was able to continue to ride. So by the end of that year of 1981, then we had to shoot The Terrible Descent and the other parts of Jim's ride. Okay, so I was now so into it that I convinced the producers, with the benefit of Charlie Luddick, who taught me how to ride, to let me attempt The Terrible Descent. Okay, so finally, I'm at the top of the hill. I remember this quite clearly. I was at the top of the hill. I looked down at my hands on the reins, and they were shaking.
Yeah.
Right? And I said to myself, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're an actor. And then I thought, well, I've put myself in this position. Trust this horse that you've developed an incredible relationship with and who I did trust, his sure-footedness, his ability. And because I had experienced, Lou, that feeling of not just, a person sitting on a horse, but actually the movement of a human on a horse together as one, not so much as individual beings, but as one entity. I had experienced that. So I thought, okay, trust. Now, look, The Terrible Descent is a bit of movie magic. It's not nearly as dangerous as it looks. Otherwise, I would never have been allowed to attempt, those profile shots going down the hill. And I didn't do the leap into it.
Yeah.
A young stuntman named Gerald Egan doubled for me in certain parts of that scene and in other scenes throughout the movie. But nevertheless, I was able to do those profile shots down the hill, and that enabled George Miller to get the camera in closer so you can actually see that it's me, even though people don't believe their eyes. You can see that it's me.
Yeah.
But, I don't talk about how it was done. It was before, CGI or anything like that. But I don't talk about how it's done because really it's a magic moment in Australian cinema history, and I don't think that you should explain how magical things happen.
I've never wanted to know how magic happens.
Right.
I just love seeing it.
Yeah, right. And when the movie was released, I would attend the premieres, and then you would see the audience, because we'd be up the back, right? And you'd see the audience collectively lean back in their seats as he galloped down the hill in slow motion in the movie, of course. And then when he turns the horse and does a little pirouette up at the top of the hill when he returns home, and Bruce Rowland in the music introduces the themes of Waltzing Matilda, people were spontaneously applauding. And I think it made people very, very proud to be Australian because it was shot on Panavision. It had a Dolby Stereo soundtrack. It all, was state of the art as far as filmmaking was concerned. And I think it made people very proud to know that that story was so well realised.
Oh, brilliant. Now, listen, I have a little story of horse riding myself. I screen tested for Young Ramsey in 79, whenever, with Jeff Burrows.
Oh, did you? All right.
Yeah,
Yes.
the producer of Man from Snowy. And when he told me to jump a huge log, I whispered, I shortened the reins and leaned forward. Is that right? And he laughed and he said, oh, Lou, no need to do it. Truly, I think you have the role.
Oh, okay. Good.
I guess because I was so bloody brave and I was going to do it. I was going to do it because I wanted that role.
Oh, good on you. Yeah, well, I had to do it. So, I told them before, during my screen test, it's probably unwise for an actor to do this, but I actually told them that I'd only sat on a horse 2 or 3 times in my life. But their plan was that, Jim would be doubled much more than eventuated because I applied myself with 100% energy and commitment, and because I had somewhat of a natural talent with horses and a great teacher, Charlie Lovick. I couldn't have done it without him. I ended up, doing much more than an actor normally would in those action scenes,
Yeah. And by the way, on the weekend, I was so glad to see you voice your opinion on the culling of brumbies in Kosciuszko National Park. Also that brumbies could be tamed and build trust with humans. It was so good to read that, Tom.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Really good. And coming from you.
Lou, it's a very divisive issue. And, of course, when
Yeah, it is.
Actors get involved in political subjects, you open the door for people to support you and for people to oppose you.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, my feeling about this particular issue is that the aerial shooting of brumbies is not the way to control them. The aerial shooting of brumbies is cruel, inhumane, and unnecessary, as far as I'm concerned. Now, a lot of people believe that they shouldn't be there at all, but I don't get into the sort of whole ins and outs of the argument. All I'm saying is, yes, the brumby numbers need to be controlled, but that is not the appropriate way to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, oh, thank you, Tom, thank you for speaking up and blah, blah. And then a lot of people say, he's just an actor, he doesn't know anything, what's he talking about? And some get abusive.
Yeah.
And people are firmly entrenched in their opinions on this stuff.
Yeah.
So my intention was, saying, making those animals suffer, and it does, making those animals suffer like that is not humane and not necessary. So I spoke up, yeah.
But anyway, let's go onward and upward.
Yeah.
45 years later, Bruce Rowland's magnificent score is now being performed live with orchestras while the film plays. What's it like seeing the film live on in that way?
Oh, I know. It's just a great development, really, because, seeing the movie again on the big screen is one thing. That's great because, as I said before, shot on Panavision, it really stands up. Technically, it really stands up. Still looks absolutely beautiful on the big screen. But they were able to take the music, and only the music, off the soundtrack, leaving the dialogue, leaving the sound effects on, and then have a symphony orchestra playing Bruce Rowland's score in sync with the movie as it's screened. It's very moving.
Mm.
And for me also, the first time through, Sigrid Thornton and I were asked to share some memories of making the film, which is what we did, just for about 20 minutes. And then we scuttled back into the theatre, right, to watch it and listen to it.
Mm.
And it was really quite moving.
Yeah.
All the little jokes that he has with Curly and with Jack Thompson, he was a good mate and all this stuff. I won't go into all the details of it. Kirk Douglas's Spur, and the people laughing along, even though they maybe knew every word of dialogue in it, they were still riding along with the whole thing, so to speak. And of course, being affected by the wonderful score of Bruce Orland. Every teenage girl who's learnt the piano, how to go at Jessica's theme. And here it is being played brilliantly and live. And the whole thing, it has proved to be very, very popular after all these years. Amazing, really.
Oh, it's wonderful. Now, back to horses. In 1983, you played Tommy Woodcock in Phar Lap, Heart of a Nation.
Yeah.
The real Tommy was still alive then. Was it intimidating having him watch you play his younger self?
Look, I was very happy to meet Tommy, that he was still alive, of course, 50 years after the events that are depicted in the film. And I was able to talk to him about his relationship with the real Phar Lap. I was able to see him working with horses, as an older man, but nevertheless getting his connection with horses. And so I decided, just to try to, rather than to try to imitate him, just to try to capture that spirit and the spirit of that very loving relationship that he had with the big horse. Now, when the movie was released, Lou and Tommy became involved in some of the promotion of the film and doing some publicity, right? So we were on the Mike Walsh show, and he is asked by Mike Walsh, well, what did you think of his performance, right? Referring to me.
Yeah.
And Tommy goes, he did a pretty good job. He wasn't as good looking as I was.
Oh, how gorgeous. What a gorgeous man.
Yeah, he was so sweet. And then also, when asked, how accurate was it, he said, about 90%. About 90% accurate. And, for a movie to be about 90% accurate, that's
pretty good.
Incredible kind of. Yes, that's a great recommendation in itself.
Yeah.
Look, it's a very emotional story when, the relationship between the man and the horse was so close, and then to have the big horse die in his arms after this incredible triumph. And that's all true, and so it lends a great emotional sort of involvement to not only, having to play that stuff, but for the audience.
You once said that Phar Lap was the best film you ever made. Was it the script, or was it the relationship between the horse and the man?
It's a combination of things, Lou. Look, The Man from Snowy River, very, very popular and very well made. But, okay, film is a collaborative process.
Yeah.
So it's a product of everybody's work. So in Phar Lap, we've got Russell Boyd's cinematography. Russell Boyd, one of the greatest Australian cinematographers. We've got the music again by Bruce Rowland. Heath Harris and his wife Ivana did wonderful work preparing that big horse and all the race horses for the horse racing scenes. David Williamson wrote the script for Phar Lap. So, you've got some really terrific writing there. Well, not so much for my character, but for the supporting characters throughout the picture. Simon Windsor, in charge of everybody, as directors are, in charge of the whole thing, I think did an absolutely excellent job. And plus, the performances. Okay, Ron Liebman as Davis, just a terrific performance. Martin Vaughan as Telford, I should say. And Judy Morris and Celia de Burgh, Vincent Ball playing the head of the Victorian Racing Club. Strong, strong performances throughout. And so the combination of all of those things and more, the editing of it, the combination, I have to say that despite the success of The Man from Snowy River, I do think that Phar Lap's possibly the best film in which I've appeared.
And then you played a priest in Eureka Stockade.
Yep.
I mean, that speech to the men at the stockade has real power. How did you approach the authority of that moment?
Okay, so the character has this big speech that he's got to give to the miners. This is before the fighting happens in Eureka Stockade. And his take really is, don't make your wives and children widows and orphans. You can't win.
Yeah.
Even though your hearts are pure, you can't win. So he's saying, don't fight. Okay, he's trying to be the peacemaker before this battle. I mean, and it was, right? It was standing up in front of all these people, and most of them were kind of local extras, right? And many of them would have been Roman Catholic, right?
Yeah.
Because we weren't in Ballarat where it all happened, but we were in Bendigo, not far away. So these were local men, and I'm standing in front of Brian Brown and some of the real name actors in Australia at the time. And so the speech has to be done to all of them as well. And, yes, it's a movie, but you're doing it live. So I was certainly nervous about it.
Congratulations on that one. I believe it was brilliant.
Well, I was nervous about it, but, at the end, when I'd done it, and Rod Hardy, the director, said, because I ran it through for the cameras, right? And then Rod Hardy came over and he said, "Okay, Tom, do it just like that." And I thought, okay, fine, thank you. That's good encouragement. And then, okay, so I did it, right? And then all fine, thank you very much, and that's it. And then some of those local guys came over and said, "It's just like being in church, mate." I thought, well, okay, for better or worse, you got there.
Oh, look, I actually heard it and it was wonderful and a great Irish accent. Now, Flesh and Blood sadly failed at the box office, the American box office. Any theories on why that gritty medieval vibe didn't land with the Yanks?
Well, for a start, it got an R rating, and it was appropriate that it got an R rating, and that makes it very difficult to have any sort of commercial success. And well, at the time it did. Look, the whole thing was, it was very difficult to shoot. And, it was Paul Verhoeven's first international picture, and the movie has a cult following even to this day.
Yeah.
Well, it's not my kind of movie, Lou. Let's put it that way. It's not my kind of movie. And,
mine.
Okay. Okay.
Wind Rider came next in 1986 with the very young Nicole Kidman. Now, I'm sure you know what I'm going to ask. The media went mad about the two of you. Was it hard to stay professional when everyone was obsessed with your yuppie windsurfer romance?
Well, yes. Look, Nicole and I did develop a relationship during the shoot and went on for the next 3 years. We were together as a couple. Nicole wasn't famous at that time.
No.
I was. And look, I'm considerably older than Nicole too. But nevertheless, we did develop our relationship that continued well after the movie. And look, it was clear Nicole was ambitious, that she was very talented, that she had potentially an incredible career to develop and to achieve. Anyway, look, after 3 years, we kind of realized mutually that our relationship had kind of run its course. We remained friends, but we were no longer together. So there wasn't a load of publicity about it at the time because, Nicole wasn't well known. Later on, of course, she became extremely well known. But I don't really talk about the relationship much because, it's private. And
a long time ago.
And a long time ago, exactly.
Yeah, a couple of lifetimes ago.
Yes.
Now, you voiced characters in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Hunchback of Notre Dame, to name a few.
Yeah.
Do you like voice acting? Is it the ultimate actor's dream? I mean, no slap makeup, or you can even wear your pajamas if you want.
That's right. Yeah, look, I enjoyed doing those jobs. Again, because I've worked with dialects, with accents quite a lot throughout the career. And I had a wonderful dialect teacher named Betty Williams when I was at NIDA.
Oh, I know her.
And she really gave us a terrific kind of method for working how to do. And I've got, naturally, a pretty good ear for dialect.
Yeah.
So, as you talked about the Irish dialect in Eureka Stockade and, different things over the years. So I was able to do Scottish and Kidnapped. I was able to do upper class English in King Solomon's Mines, and then American in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and then the character voice of the Hunchback. So it was great fun, really.
Yeah.
And as you say, you just go into the studio and, you're reading from the page. You don't have to learn it even.
Yeah.
And off you go. So, I enjoyed those jobs.
Yeah. And then the Time Guardian saw you acting opposite Carrie Fisher. What was she like to work with?
Carrie had quite a few personal problems and she was still under medication, I guess, for some of her issues. And so one day she'd be the brightest, funniest, happiest person that you'd ever want to meet. And then the next day she'd be totally sort of cut off and isolated. And, it was kind of sad.
Yeah.
She recovered from it. And also, look, Lou, frankly, I think everybody was thinking, what the hell is she doing in this low-budget science fiction movie in Australia after being in Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, we were on friendly terms, but she was not really well, I suppose, without putting too fine a point on it.
Yeah.
And then, the movie, the first-time director kind of lost control of the whole thing, and it turned out to be a disappointment, really.
Oh. But how had you changed as an actor when the second man from Snowy River came along?
Well, I had more experience in front of cameras. The opportunity to play Jim again with the benefit of a bit more maturity was interesting to me. Re-establishing relationships with Charlie Lovick and with Sigrid and, with some of the original people who'd worked on the movie was great.
Yeah.
And so overall, it didn't have the heart that the first movie had. And it was a long time after, it was 6 years between the first movie and the second movie, which is kind of a long time for a sequel. And again, I became involved in promotion of the film in America, but it really didn't do particularly well in America. And sort of I was associated with it, of course, because I was the lead and the only person who was over there promoting the movie. So it didn't help me to further my career in the States, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, you filmed the 5-part series Piece of Cake in England and Europe, which was very, very successful. Did it feel like a very different kind of production being over there?
Well, I was working with some terrific young actors who several of whom went on to really have great careers. And there I was, the only Aussie. So I used to make a point when I walked on the set of saying, "G'day." Just to make sure that everybody knew that, the Aussie was on the set.
Yep.
So,
good for you.
Again, a great character, a lot of development in the character, and it was very, very well made, the whole thing, shot on film. It was a really good script. And so I was glad to be in something of such high quality, really. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
And, it caused some controversy because, the heroes of the Battle of Britain weren't presented as such all the time throughout the course of the piece. And then it was also sold to PBS for Masterpiece Theatre screenings in the United States. So, again, there was wide exposure of it, which was, you always hope that when you do good work that people are going to see it.
But then came The Legend of Kootenai Brown, filmed in Canada, where you were born.
Yep.
Did that feel like a full circle moment?
Well, in a way, I think, how if you're from a certain country and you can qualify as being local content, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think because I still had my Canadian passport as well as my Australian passport, because I was born in Canada, I still had it. So I qualified as being local content.
Fantastic.
I think while it was a fairly low budget film, a lot was achieved despite the fact that it didn't have a lot of money, because it was kind of similar in style to Dances with Wolves, right? But they had nowhere near the sort of money that Dances with Wolves was made for. So, I think overall, especially considering the budget of a movie, in the end, they did a pretty good job with it.
Good. Well, Raymond Burr was in it. He was one of my favourites.
Yeah.
I mean, as Perry Mason, did he share any secrets with you?
No, not really. I mean, he only appeared in the courtroom scenes. Again, he was in the court, but not as a lawyer this time, but as the judge. And I didn't spend a lot of time with him because his scenes were all shot continuously. So it was really only like a few days that he was around. Because they keep cutting back to the courtroom scenes throughout the movie, it seems like we were with each other for a long time, but we actually weren't.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was interesting talking to him, and him being also a Canadian actor originally, which is also why he was in the film, because he qualified for Canadian content.
Right.
So all of these movies, whether they were good or bad or however they turned out, I always was in good company, I mean, Carrie Fisher in The Time Guardian, and Dean Stockwell also in The Time Guardian, Raymond Burr and Donnelly Rhodes in Kootenai Brown, and all of them, I was always working with good people, which I'm grateful for.
Of course, of course. Tom, you also travelled to Ethiopia and Kenya for the World Vision documentary, The Forgotten World. That must have been deeply confronting. What stayed with you from that experience?
Yes, we did stories in Ethiopia and in Kenya. And it's really to try to get people to sponsor children in need in the third world, right? That's really what it was all about. But the individual stories were so moving, and the people that I met were so moving. I mean, you remember, Lou, all of that footage, and Bob Geldof made it all very sort of well known, of people dying in their thousands, in Ethiopia and the famine there.
Yeah.
Well, all that time, there were these fish called Nile perch living in the lake, but because it wasn't part of the culture to eat fish, that food source was ignored.
No.
Now, the World Vision program was teach the local people to fish so that they could access that protein, right, into their diet.
Right.
And then maybe sell some fish in order to buy a cow or whatever, right? And it was making a huge difference in the lives and in the reality of these poorer than poor people. So for me, it's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And it's really, really worthwhile. So I came back to the Western world much, much more aware of the fact that, the things that concern us that we might get bugged about in our everyday lives in the Western world are so inconsequential when you consider that so many people in the world, their main concerns are, is there going to be enough food on the table for my family? Am I maybe going to provide a better life for my children than I have? That's something that is much, much more basic. So I came back to the Western world sort of just changed and just more aware, I guess, of how fortunate we are in the Western world and how if we have the means, we can help those who need help. So I've been a World Vision sponsor ever since. And it's only a small thing, really, relatively. It's only a small thing. But if everybody in the Western world who could afford it would do it, there wouldn't be any more poverty in the world.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right.
Yeah. Now, in 1991, Tina Sinatra was making the miniseries Sinatra. At the end of the tape, you cheekily added a clip of your singing The Man in the Hat, written and sung by you.
Yep.
Was that a calculated gamble or a moment of madness?
I wanted to be considered to play the part. And I knew it was a long shot, not being American, not being Italian-American, but I wanted to be considered. And I was sent some sides, they call them in America, some audition scenes, okay? And so I employed a couple of actors and got a film crew. So we actually shot more than just me, the single camera shot of me doing an audition scene. We actually shot the scenes and edited them and put them together in a sort of, kind of, not a professional standard, but nevertheless, we shot these scenes. And so there were the acting scenes. And I thought, well, okay, I'm also going to show them that I can actually sing. And I might be able to, if they need somebody to sing like Frank. So I stuck it on the end of the videotape. And, the reaction came back as, well, this is amazing because, they weren't expecting to see the scenes acted out with other actors in the thing. And then, me performing live on the midday show with a big band. Yeah. It was a great surprise. So anyway, it led to Tina asking me to fly to Los Angeles and sing for her, which I did. And then I was in a studio with her and the musical director of the piece, Artie Butler, at the piano, singing I Can't Give You Anything But Love and Stormy Weather and Begin the Begin and I'll Never Smile Again and all those songs from the early days of Sinatra. And she had tears in her eyes, Lou. This is absolutely true. She sat there with tears in her eyes. And then that afternoon, she rang me and said, I want you to do this job for me, Tom. And so there I was cast as the voice of the young Frank Sinatra, which was just incredible. Yeah. The whole story, Lou, of me writing the song about Sinatra, The Man in the Hat, of performing it on the midday show after approaching Ray Martin at the Logie Awards and giving him a copy of the song on audio tape. And, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but nevertheless, okay, so then doing that and then sending it to Tina and then going to sing for her and then doing the job and then it winning the Golden Globe Award for Best Miniseries and then led to this whole new development in my career, how one thing led to another. And if one of those things hadn't happened in that progression, then none of the rest of it would have happened, if you see what I mean. So when I look back on it, I just think, oh, gosh, I was kind of a bit audacious, I suppose, because people in America, when Tina would tell people like who was singing the voice, what, the kid on the horse? Yeah. was their reaction, So anyway.
Now let's take a moment and we'll play The Man in the Hat.
Okay, great. All right.
The very first time I heard your voice, you grabbed me deep inside. Captured by that swinging refrain, I was just a kid, couldn't say your name. I'd call just the same, put on the man in the hat. When I was 17 or so, romance filled my heart. Songs of love enraptured me. Oh, what a fine discovery. For, well, naturally, I'd play the man in the hat. You touched my life in so many ways. Got it, bad times, happy days. Wanna thank you, gotta let you know. A dream came true when I saw you live up on the stage. You brought tears of joy to me. You were everything I thought you'd be. You inspired me, my man in the hat.
Oh, just wonderful, Tom.
Well, that was the creation that changed everything for me. And it all came out of, my love for the music since I was a little kid. So it's kind of part of my life progression that turned into a big diversification in my career.
Yeah. And where can our listeners access your music?
At gigs.
Good. Live with the CDs.
I never had a recording contract. Yeah, that's right. I never had a recording contract.
No.
And I don't approve of Spotify.
Yeah.
So I don't put my stuff on Spotify. But if people come and see me live and they like what they hear after the show and they can buy CDs, it's kind of old technology now. But over the years, Lou, we've sold thousands and thousands of them. And it also gives me an opportunity to just say hello to people and have a little moment with people, and also to hear their reactions to the show, which is very positive and gratifying. So, that's really the only place that you can hear my music is if you come to a show and buy a CD.
Fair enough, too. And I've got one at home. In fact, I've got a couple.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right.
Now, when you build a show like Frank, A Life in Song, or Sinatra at the Sands, or Now We're Swinging, which I saw just recently, where do you begin? With the songs?
Yeah, with the songs. And with Sinatra, the career was so long that you can't possibly do everything or deal with everything. So my focus in Frank, A Life in Song was focus on the music. And so, yes, you had to deal with the early days when Sinatra was a very romantic singer and that kind of stuff, which nowadays is, a little old-fashioned. Well, I mean, it's got inherent drama in it because Sinatra's career skyrocketed and then really had a massive fall before he won the Academy Award for From Here to Eternity, and then developed this incredible resurgence in his career, one of the greatest comebacks in show business history. And so it had some drama in it, but I just focused on the songs, his arrangers, of course, which was a huge part of Sinatra's success, was the work of people like Nelson Riddle and Billy May and Gordon Jenkins, and later on Don Costa and Quincy Jones. So, those things. And then also, I suppose, the idea that Sinatra chose material that often kind of reflected his own life, so that when he was singing about, I'm a fool to want you, for instance, he was very much thinking about his relationship with Ava Gardner. So he had a tremendous personal connection with his material. And I think that's what makes it so potent even today, because, really he was singing about what he was feeling and what he knew about. So anyway, that. And then, of course, you move on to the anthems of the later career, like My Way in New York, New York, and you've got a perfect ending.
Yeah.
And my intention right from the beginning was to put a big band on stage with me. So it was all about sort of a live concert in a theatrical setting with me as the narrator and singer.
Wonderful.
So, and it was far more successful than I ever imagined it would be. It just took off.
Yeah.
And we played it all around the country. It led to lots of corporate work because it was a big surprise. You know, the man from Snowy River could sing like Frank Sinatra. And, you know, people loved seeing the big band. And, well, the other thing is, of course, that, you know, 2 days before we opened at the Seymour Centre in Sydney in 1998, 2 weeks before we opened, Sinatra died.
Oh, yes.
There was a huge amount of publicity about the passing of this great legend of 20th century show business, and it attracted interest in the show. And because, you know, well, people liked it, it just kept growing and growing and growing. We ended up taking it to Canada. And I guess, really now, Lou, I'm still doing variations on the theme.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see the next one. I mean, do you do much of the production work yourself, such as venues, musicians, staging, etc.?
Well, I have a relationship that's lasted since 1998 when Ralph Pyle, he had the Sydney All-Star Big Band.
Right.
We were working on a show together, and he said to me, I hear you're thinking about doing a show about Sinatra. Well, if you want a big band, I've got one. And so it was Ralph's band that came on stage with me. And since then, he's been involved in every show I've done.
Oh.
Ralph knows all the musicians around the country who know how to play and read well. Nowadays, we can send the charts, the arrangements in advance. But in those days, we used to take them all on paper and they'd sit and read the charts and be able to perform them very, very quickly. And so we did that with big bands, small bands all around the country. And for more than 25 years now, I introduced him on stage. You heard me.
Yes.
He's my musical right-hand man and has been that.
Yes.
So, you know, I couldn't do, I said it on stage, I couldn't do what I do without him.
No.
I also have a manager who does the approaches to the various venues and does the deals, always in collaboration with me, but he's actually the point man, I suppose. And I'm the producer. So my money that goes up and I'm the last to be paid. So once everybody else has been paid, I get what's left. And sometimes there's quite a bit and it's quite satisfactory, and sometimes we just scrape through. But, you know, that's showbiz.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, though. Well done. Keep doing it.
Yeah, well, I do enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah. And you've performed at such events as Carols by Candlelight, The Spirit of Christmas. It's a very different type of energy, I'm sure. Or is it?
Well, you know, it's live. And it's not only live to a big, you know, audience, whether it's in Melbourne or at the Domain. And I've done both. And a television audience. So, yes, there's a certain heightened reality about all that because, you're exposed.
Yeah.
You're exposed.
Yeah.
So, again, you know, those shows are very popular and it allows you to sort of do something a bit different because, you know, those songs in the carols, they're not my normal swing choices, you know. I've got to calm down. And I mean, there are only a few, like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, I really like. And the Christmas song that Mel Torme wrote, you know, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, that one.
Oh, yes.
Some of the others I'm really not all that interested in singing, but there are always a few that I can choose.
Yeah. But then you return to musical theatre in The Producers. And I saw it and I loved that one too. Was it wonderful working with Bert and Reg Livermore?
Look, the whole experience was, the show was so funny, Lou.
Yeah.
It was so...
I loved it.
So great. And, you know, Mel Brooks' comedy, it had been a phenomenon on Broadway. And with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, just a huge success. And because, you know, it really, really works. Mel Brooks had written wonderful songs because it was originally a movie, not a musical, just a drama or a comedy. And so now this new development of Susan Stroheim's choreography and all these songs and the Mel Brooks comedy just made it a wildly entertaining show. So audiences loved it. And I mean, I was, you know, a little bit insecure about the comedy, right? Because we'd had Gene Wilder establishing this character of Bloom, Leo Bloom.
Yes.
And he's one of the great comic actors of all time, right? He's established the character. And then there's Matthew Broderick, who'd been in, you know, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and lots of other comedy stuff. And I hadn't done a lot of it. I'd been in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying earlier on. But, you know, not a lot of comedy. And here we were playing Mel Brooks comedy. Well, all right. So I was a bit, you know, a bit worried about that. But on the opening, or during one of the previews, actually, Mel Brooks came out to Australia for the opening night. This was just one of the late previews, and the rumours went all around backstage. Mel Brooks is in, Mel Brooks is watching, Mel Brooks is in, right? And then sure enough, there was an announcement during the show, will all the cast please stay on stage at the end of the show? So we thought, all right, here we go. So the curtains come down, everybody's still on stage, and there he is, applauding us as he walks on stage, right? Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
And he walked right up to me, and he kissed me on the cheek.
Oh, how gorgeous.
Yeah, and then later on he said, it's great, kid, it's great, just keep doing what you're doing. And when that came from him, from the man who created the whole damn thing, right, that gave me a lot of confidence and reassurance that what I was doing was okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and as I say, audiences loved it, and the show was great success.
It certainly was, and you would never undermine yourself ever again about that. well, Not with that compliment, with being kissed on the cheek by Mel.
I know, well, that's right. But you know this very well, Lou. Actors are normally a kind of subtle mix between drastic insecurity and, overconfidence.
Yep. Total. Are we bipolar?
Yeah, right.
But after that, you did Chicago. You played Billy Flynn. He's smooth, slippery, and terribly charming. Did you have fun being naughty?
I did. Again, it's one of the great parts in American musical theatre, which is, really one of the great parts. And I thought really still very appropriate because, okay, this character's creating an alternate reality, right, in the show. We see in the beginning, we see Roxy kill her
lover.
Yeah, her lover, right. And then Billy comes on and creates a completely different reality to that for the courtroom scene. So this is very Trumpian, right?
Yeah.
This is him saying, no, creating, fake news, creating an alternate reality. And so I thought, right, well, that's what I'll go for. And, yes, he had to be charming, but really, it's kind of evil. And musically it was challenging again. And look, it's John Frost. John Frost brought me back from America to do How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, my first musical, right, back in 1992. Then put me in the producers or, put me up for the producers. And now this one, again, a great part and just a very enjoyable experience, doing another musical and a great musical and a great part. And again, audiences just had a great time in Chicago. They really did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, in 2011, you reunited with Simon Windsor for The Cup.
Yeah.
Was it nostalgic working with the man who directed you in File App nearly 30 years earlier?
Yes, it was. And, Simon directed this film. He co-wrote the script. It was a hell of a story. It began based on truth about Damien Oliver winning the Melbourne Cup just soon after his brother had died in a horse racing accident. I played a supporting role, playing Irish again, Lou.
Can't get away from that Irish.
No, that's right, playing Irish again. Look, the film didn't turn out to be as successful as it was hoped, but, again, a strong cast and some very good work by, the actors in it. And, so I was very happy after a long, long absence from Australian film to play, a good supporting role in another Australian movie.
Now, you also sang Sinatra again in The Night We Called It a Day. How do you honour someone as iconic as Sinatra without turning him into an impersonation? Okay,
this is challenging because in the Sinatra miniseries, I'd sung Sinatra as a young man. Now he was much older. And it was after his kind of, 3-year retirement when he came to Australia in 1974. Which this was the infamous tour where he insulted members of the press and then was blacklisted, and that's what the basis of that movie. And with Dennis Hopper playing Sinatra, so it's only my voice that people hear in that movie. So Dennis Hopper lip syncing to my voice, singing some of the great songs. You make me feel so young, and That's Life, and lots of them. But I definitely had to lower the range. As Sinatra did as he was older, and just not have that sort of vocal flexibility that he had when he was so much younger. So again, it was challenging. And again, the movie really it turned out being not nearly as successful as was hoped.
What a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Win some, lose some.
yeah, well, actors they can't be held responsible for the whole thing because, they're not in control. All they can do is do their bit and hope for the best. And look, there have been times when I've been surrounded by very, very talented people doing wonderful work in all the various departments of filmmaking. And there have been other times when one side or another let it down. And that's life. What are you going to do?
Now then, just to prove that you can do anything, you hosted Animal Hospital. Now, were animals easier or harder to work with than actors? Now, be careful, Tom. I may know the answer.
Well, look, yes, I was hosting Animal Hospital, and we did stories at the RSPCA. And, well, okay, without putting too fine a point on it, a viewer actually responded. He said, "You've got the soft hands," right? When this person saw that when I was, stroking an animal or something, that was something that he recognized that. So, yeah, I mean, it isn't a big deal. I do love animals. And so.
Of course you do.
The thing about working on Animal Hospital is that you saw people willing to make all kinds of sacrifices for the love of their pets. And then you also saw the other side of the human condition, and you saw the results of terrible cruelty. So, the whole experience was, I thought, worthwhile. And, the show became popular. And again, okay, so it's me as my sort of public personality talking straight down the barrel of the camera. And, so a different kind of job for a working actor,
Absolutely. And kept the money coming in too, which was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Now, you were also a judge on Australia's Got Talent with Red Simons and Danny Minogue.
I was.
What was that team like?
Well, look.
That was for a few years too, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 years. We were the first 3 years of Australia's Got Talent in Australia.
Yeah.
I was one of the judges. Danny went on to do more, but Red went back to doing Red Faces for Channel 9. So that was the end of me. When Red, they kept Danny, but replaced the two men. However, look, I was not all that comfortable in the role of judge because I was kind of cast as the nice one, Lou, right?
Yes.
So because Red could be horrible and Danny was kind of the glamour puss and then there was me, the nice one, right? And sometimes I was scratching myself as to what am I going to say to this person?
Yeah.
Because, anyway, but the whole experience in the 3 years that I did it, the people who won was a wonderful singer named Bonnie Anderson and then a terrific guitarist named Joe Robinson, who's gone on to an international career that's continuing to this day.
Fabulous.
And Mark Vincent, who has gone from this wide-eyed teenage boy singing Nissan Dorma in the studio to a great career. And there are people who've each gone on to make a living and have a career in show business. And I was a small part of the start of each of those people.
What a lovely thing to be able to do and say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As well as watching other people and you think, oh my goodness, no one will ever see you again.
Yeah. Oh yes, that would be very, very difficult. That one would. But what advice would you give young performers who want a long career, not just a quick burst of fame and fortune, but, a longevity?
It's very hard to create opportunities in show business. I took the reins myself by producing my own shows eventually. But the main thing I would say is if you do get an opportunity, give it 100% energy and commitment. Do that. And that's really all you can do. And then, as I've said before, if you're surrounded by other talented people who are also doing good work, then one thing can lead to another. Yeah, so, I mean, that's what I'd say is just don't ever think this is beneath you. Don't ever think this isn't worthwhile. If you're given an opportunity, give it your best and then hope for the best.
And take it.
Yeah.
Tom, after 50 years in showbiz, from Kirby's Company to Snowy River, from Far Lap to Sinatra, from the saddle to the big band stage, what has this incredible ride meant to you?
Well, it's been, really quite apart from my marriage to Mandy. I met Mandy when we were performing together in How to Succeed in Business. That was a big change in my life, that relationship, because we were married about 3 years later, and we've had 3 wonderful children who are now grown up, and we've done all of that during all of this time when I've been making a living in show business. I feel very fortunate to have been able to continue to work in show business. Yes, I've had to diversify. Yes, I've had to do different things, as we've discussed. But I do feel very fortunate to be able to continue to work in this industry for such a long time. I do feel very, very grateful and fortunate for that.
Oh, Tom, fantastic. Now, your shows are still drawing wonderful audiences. Where can listeners find out where you're performing next?
We use Facebook a lot.
Yeah.
And there's also a website. But Facebook is probably the place, because we advertise on Facebook. So, and I've got a professional Facebook page. So if people are interested, they could always seek me out on that. And then they'll see what's going on and what's coming up.
Great. Fantastic. And thank you, Tom. Oh, it's been so wonderful having a chat and catch up. It brought back so many memories to me.
Oh, thank you so much, Lou. Lovely talking to you. And thank you for the opportunity. I'm really, really glad for the interest. And I hope your listeners will be interested in hearing some of those stories from all those years. So,
I'm
many
sure
thanks.
they will. And I'm sure that they would love to come along and see you live.
Yay. Well, still doing it. Still out there doing it with the band, as you know. So, that'd be great, because I really do enjoy going out and meeting the people after the show and hearing what their thoughts and So, anyway, thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. He's still the same charmer I met all those years ago. It's been such an honour to chat with such a brilliant guest. To you, our wonderful listeners, thank you for joining us to hear about the man, the hat, and the legend. If you want to catch up with Tom live with his big band or grab one of those famous CDs, make sure to seek him out on Facebook to see where he's swinging next. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please be a darling and spread the word about our podcast. Share it with your friends. Leave us a comment or a review and help us keep these stories in the archives where they belong. Until next time, stay cheeky and keep swinging. A bientôt.
Thanks for listening with an open heart. But now it's time for us to part. So tell everybody that you know to tune in next week to Lulu's show. From set to sofa is where it's at. And Lulu, darling, just loves the chat. She talks to stars with grace and style. Lulu sure will make you smile.